linebackers too. Like, I know they're unproven. I mean, Coney, Tranquil, they're gone. Bilal hasn't necessarily proven himself, kind of like in that Kramer and like Eichenberg role, because he was pretty heavily recruited. But I just have trust that, they've recruited the position well, and those guys are going to be able to come in and play well, kind of like what Ben was saying. But yeah, kind of going off to a little bit of a different subject here, and maybe we can end with this, because it looks like we've been going on for 30, 35 minutes here. Notre Dame basketball had not gotten a recruit for a really long time. I think it was something
almost
like
2 years.
Yep. Yeah. And still don't have a recruit in the 2020 class. I have my thoughts on that. I'm a little bit more optimistic than other people are when it comes to, Mike Bray and the team moving forward. And I think yourself and Ben are probably a little bit more optimistic as well. But they finally got a recruit. It's a 2021 guy. Don't know how to pronounce his name. I've seen it spelt. It's J.R. Kozniewski or something close to that. I don't know if Mason, I know you're from that area. And I've seen him play. If you want to pronounce his name for us, go ahead. And then maybe if you can give us a little bit of background knowledge on him, if you know anything.
I believe it's Jared Kuchesny. It's similar to Coach K, where it's kind of difficult to spell and it doesn't look like how it would sound. But that's what I've heard, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to call him JR though, just because I don't know. I don't want to butcher it if that's wrong. But
JR it is.
JR, yeah, right. So I graduated from Penn High School, which is in the South Bend area, in 2018. So he was a freshman at the time, but I've been back to interview a couple players that were Notre Dame targets. Didn't end up working out, but Jaden Ivey, it is what it is. But yeah, I got to see him play a couple times, and this kid's a baller, and he's only getting better. He's heading into his junior year now. Kind of an early commit, actually. He's in the 2021 class, but a pure shooter. He can drive. He talked about in a recent interview he needs to put on weight to be able to drive more efficiently, because he stands at 6'6", 6'7". So playing as a small forward, he's way bigger than his competition. A lot of times in high school you see small forwards that are 6'2" or 6'3", because at that height they're some of the bigger guys on the team. So he's way bigger than these guys, and he should, as he gets more into the weight room, as he talked about, he should be able to drive more efficiently, but and then make himself more of a versatile attacker to the basket. But yeah, you give him the ball, he can create his own shot. He's a spot shooter as well. He's knocked down from three. Actually, almost his entire Huddle highlight on Rivals is just about all of it is 3-point making. So he's a real scorer and a guy that Mike Bray likes on his team. I see a lot of Steve Vasturia in him, but probably even more of a scorer than Vasturia was. Vasturia was more of a scrappy kind of guy he was good from three, but I think JR has the potential to be even better than Vasturia.
Do you have any thoughts, Ben, on that?
Yeah, I've kind of watched a little bit of him, especially after Mason put out his kind of profile on Slap the Sign. I watched the exact highlight that Mason just referenced just there, and what really strikes me is that, before I even read his stats as far as physical stats, I was like, holy crap, that kid needs the weight room. But, he is only 16 years old, so he's got some time. 6'6", 170 or whatever he is it's a unique build, but I think, the positive is that he has time to grow into his game a little bit, and his game's already pretty good. So, it'll be different, certainly. He's probably, most of the time he's going to be one of the bigger guys on the floor in high school games, and he's going to be able to get a shot whenever he wants. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see as he continues as a high school player, and he gets to continue to play against good competition and stuff, to see how he can get a shot off and that type of thing quicker against better opponents and that type of thing. But I'm enthused by him. Anytime you can get a guy that's got that height and the ball skills that go with it, you got to be happy about it. So he just has to do some things physically to be a really good Notre Dame player, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you guys. I admittedly haven't watched too much film of him. I've started, obviously when they offered him, I tried to check out a little bit, and then once he committed, I knew he was a guy that was very likely to commit, partly because Mason had kind of shown a lot of confidence in that, being from that area. But I had just read that he was the kind of guy that once he got that Notre Dame offer, it was really the one he wanted. So it's good to see that, because I think a lot of people were starting to lose a little bit of hope in that sense, that guys just didn't want to play for Notre Dame. And regardless of the kid being from South Bend or not, it's just nice to see that a kid wanted to be there. But going off what you guys said about, I think he's that traditional Notre Dame guy, especially in the Bray system. He's a little tall. He's like Mason said, he's not that 6'2", 6'3" guy. He's already 6'6", 6'7", can play shooting guard, small forward, and he's already shown the ability to be a terrific shooter. I've read some reports that he's really worked on his athleticism, this past summer, and that's starting to show already in some of their workouts with high school stuff, and then even in the summer when they were, when he was doing the camp circuit and stuff like that, he really showed out. But no, I'm excited about him. We have to remember he's 2 years away still, and he's probably going to grow a few more inches. He's going to get thicker, and he's just that guy that's. I think Steve Vesturia was actually spot on, and then Mason was like, he could be better, and I was like, well, damn. Vesturia was a damn good player for Notre Dame for all 4 years he was there. So if he's Steve Vesturia, that's great. If he's better, that's really great. So I'd be really excited if he became that type of player. Real quick before we go, I know we're kind of running out of time here, but I know we talked about before the podcast doing maybe a couple player predictions, and we talked about a lot of players, for the football season coming up. And I wrote a piece here recently, kind of a collaborative piece, and I think 6 or 7 of us joined in. But if you guys could give me a few of your predictions, maybe a bold prediction for this year player-wise, so we can start with maybe like MVP. You can do defensive, offensive MVP. And then I'll just kind of shout them out at you guys. You don't have to do too much analysis with it, but if you guys want to show me or just tell me what your MVP is and that kind of stuff, and then we'll just keep moving on from there. If you guys are cool with that.
Yep.
Perfect. So Mason, we'll start with you. Who's your overall MVP, and then give me your defensive and offensive MVP.
Overall MVP. If Notre Dame's going to have a successful season, it's got to be Book. I think that's what I answered in your article. It's got to be Book. He has to play well, if this team wants to succeed. Not just because I don't trust Phil, but partially because I don't trust Phil. And I know that when we saw that Book can take us to a college football playoff. So, and then you said offensive MVP.
Just go defensive. Just go defensive, since you pretty much gave offensive.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. It's the same. So defensive, I think Aquara's too easy. Let's see. Defensive. I'm going to go with. Let's go with Alohi Gilman. I think he's going to hold it down back there. He's a leader, and I think that he's going to do a lot to mold Kyle Hamilton into being what you referenced in our chat as the next Jalen Smith in South Bend. So I'm going to hold you to that. And so I think Alohi Gilman.
I'm going to take a different offensive MVP, although I do think that, I probably, if I had gone first, I'd have probably picked Book, but I'm going to go somewhere else. Just a guy that I really will go to bat for some reason or another is Jafar Armstrong. I think he's, especially with some of the injuries that we're dealing with at the beginning of the year, I see Jafar as a guy that, isn't going to leave the field a lot, whether he's playing the traditional running back, whether he's in the slot, whether he's doing something else. I think he's probably not going to be a 1,000-yard rusher, because Notre Dame's going to probably use 4 or 5 running backs, but he might be the type of guy that has like 500 rushing yards and like 500 receiving yards, or 300-400 receiving yards, somewhere in that ballpark. So that's a guy that, like I say, I'll go to bat for. I don't know if he's going to be the offensive MVP, but I just wanted to mention him. Defensively, I think, a guy that I want to be the MVP at the very least is probably like Troy Pride. And I say that because I think that Notre Dame is, because they're a little bit weak in the middle of their defense, they're going to try to do some things to, kind of cover that up a little bit, especially against a team like Georgia. And I think they're going to leave a guy like Pride and the other, and I mentioned Pride specifically because he plays the boundary corner. So if he's really good, that's going to, be good for Notre Dame. And so that's kind of my thinking there. So hopefully he's the defensive MVP. But I don't know. We'll see.
Gotcha. Just to keep it consistent with the article, I have to go with Book for overall MVP if the team's going to be a college football contender. But defensive MVP, I don't really care if it's one of those things where it's easy to say. But I think Julian Aquara is going to be, just a dominant defensive end for the team this year. But I would go second guy. I might go with Jalen Elliott. I think he means a lot more to this team than people realize. Let's go a little faster on this. You guys don't have to get too depth on the analysis. Just kind of name a player and maybe just say something real quick. What about like a breakout player? Whether try to stick it to try to keep it away from like freshmen, because I don't really consider those breakout guys because it's their first year. But just a breakout player on each side of the ball.
Can you go first?
Either one. Go ahead, Mason.
Ben, go ahead.
Okay. Let's go Kurt Heinisch. He's just going to have to be good.
And then offensive?
Offensively, I'm going to go with Lawrence Keys. He's going to have to be good too.
All right. Mason?
Oh, shoot. Okay, breakout. I'm going to go with Woo, Jeremiah Usu-Kormala, to break out. And then, let's see, for offense, I'm going to let's go Kyron Williams. I think that his pass catching ability and his speed out of the backfield is something that Chip Long's going to like to use a lot. He's a nice complement to, he might be the fourth running back, but he's a nice complement to the strength and power that is Jimmy Smith and Tony Jones. So I think that they'll utilize him a lot, and Notre Dame fans will like what they see out of Kyron Williams.
All right, we're just going to pretend that you were paying attention when I said no freshman, but that's okay.
I say what I want, man. I say what I want.
I'm going to go. I'm going to stick to the article again. I'm going to go. I know a lot of people probably don't consider Jafar Armstrong a breakout candidate, but I'm going to go with him on the offensive side of the ball. And I think it's hard, to go against Jeremiah Usu-Kormala. We've been hearing a lot about him in camp, and I just think he's crazy athletic, and he's the first guy that Clark Lee really recruited for that position at Rover. So I think he's going to have a really solid season. How about like a wild card? I know a lot of people, when we say this, it probably the first guy that comes to mind is Sean Crawford. But what about staying away from Sean Crawford? Let's just say that. And I know Mason will probably use his name anyway, but let's pick a wild card. You don't have to use both sides of the ball in this one. Just give me one wild card for the year. Whether it means that they're it could mean that the team is really good because of this wild card, or maybe they become really bad because of the wild card. And go ahead, Ben.
This is hard. Asmar Bilal, I think moving inside, I've got confidence that he's going to be pretty decent, but just because he has some experience on the field. But if he's bad, Notre Dame's, it could be bad for Notre Dame.
Okay. Mason.
All right, so a guy I don't think you guys mentioned is Sean Crawford. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go with Drew White. I think he has a solid chance to be starting against Louisville, and we're gonna see how good he is against Louisville. So I'll go with Drew White.
Okay, and I think you used the guy in your in the article, so that's
yeah.
I believe my guy, if I'm not mistaken, was Bilal as well. I just think, kind of like what I mentioned earlier with him, he's been in the starting rotation for at least a year. He's been a rotational guy for a few years, but he's never really had that athleticism really transition into a big-time role for them. So if he could be a really good Micah Buck for him this year, that'd be awesome. And then another guy, we've mentioned him before, would be Dante Vaughn. If he's healthy and efficient, opposite of Troy Pride, that'd be really good. I think that's about it, guys. It was great to try to lead a podcast for once. I think it was cool, but I'll kind of leave it for Ben to kind of close it out for us. But just really excited about this coming season, and maybe we can hop on the pod and really preview Louisville later this week or something like that. But if we don't, consider this the official start of the season podcast.
Yeah, so thanks, Nathan. I think A+ job leading the podcast. I'm happy. So listeners, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. It had been a while, and so I know all three of us were kind of I don't know, searching for a time to get together and do this, and we found some time here today as we recorded this on Sunday afternoon. So thanks for sticking with us. Make sure you're checking us out all over the web. You can find us slapthesign.com. Search for us on Twitter. It's real easy to find us. We're pretty prominent